Hi, this is Dan here. I hope you're doing well today. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you this pretty complex funk bass line. And as we go, I'm going to show you a few things like octaves, fast plucking, how to play some fills over this, syncopated rhythms, articulations, and specific funk techniques like that one, which is the shake, you know. So we're going to go through all those things, and also not to mention some tips on, you know, actually how to tackle something that is this difficult. Let's go straight into it. So here's the first little bit. Octaves on A. Now this whole thing is based around an A minor pentatonic. It goes to C major and G. So all of this we can use. Just a simple A minor pentatonic scale. More of which later, but this is the first bit, octaves. Now octaves on funk bass, in funk bass, is a very common thing. Plucking the lower note with the index and the longer middle is ready to play the 7th fret, in this case, of the D string, okay? Note length is absolutely key, so even just this simple bit at the beginning here, kind of maybe making the first note a bit longer, second one a bit shorter. And that's to do with how, you know, the fingers coming up, these fretting hand fingers coming up, so make sure to control that. Then we got ghost notes. So we got an A and a G on fret 7 and 5. And I'm shifting on the second ghost note to get to the C on fret 3 of the A string. It doesn't really matter where you play a ghost note. You can use the ghost note to shift. And funk bass lines often require quick shifts, so you can use rests or ghost notes to do that shift. We've got another octave there, so I'm doing the ghost note, I'm raking down to this A string and playing the ghost note directly over that C so that I don't have any more movements to make. You know, economy of motion in bass technique is a very important concept, and that's minimizing movements. Doing that same index middle thing there. Then we got a G. This is where we get quite a lot of syncopation, and syncopated rhythms occur off the beat. So if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, dun, da, 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 you know, stuff that's not on the beat is syncopated, and funk bass lines really feature those kinds of rhythms. Now when you're practicing something difficult, isolate a section like from the G there and slow down. That really is how to practice hard things. Take a little tiny section, slow it down, and just go through it until you get it. And it requires a bit of grit and determination, you know, because sometimes it's really hard. You just have to push through that, really. So going from the G, 3, 4. And cycle round. My foot is religiously tapping so that I'm aware of where the beats are, and because there's a lot of 16th note stuff going on, I'm subdividing every single beat up into your 4/16. So every time that's going in my head. So make sure you have that going. That's how you'll place the notes on the grid and in the groove well, is to work on these subdivisions. Little ghost note before the D, and then that E there is a little syncopated thing again. There we have a hammer on. That's between frets 5 and 7 of the D string, the G and the A. Plucking with the index. The middle finger is, even before required, it's already there hovering over that G. And equally, the first finger on my fretting hand, as soon as it's done plucking that G, it's there hovering over the C on the 5th fret of the G string. Okay. One way to practice this is just, you know, to get a technical exercise. Let's do a boring one. I'm going frets 5, 6, 7, 8 on the E string, and then just moving that to A, D, and G, and just concentrating on having a finger ready to fret the next note or to pluck the next note at all times. Doing it slowly to make sure the tone is there, and then you can build up. You can do that on any scale or anything you possibly wish to make up. Next bar starts off exactly the same. Now here we've got quite a monumental jump, a leap to this position here. You don't have much time to make that, but there is a rest there, and that's a hand shift that needs to be quite confident and quick. When I used to do a lot of teaching in schools, one thing I used to notice a lot of is players kind of holding the bass such that a shift just wouldn't happen, because they would sort of like run into their own body with their elbow. So it's really, really important that you hold the bass. I mean, this is an advanced bass lesson, so I'm assuming most people do know this, but you might not. And that is just to hold the bass such that you can really have access to the entire neck. Hadjian Faro plays the bass here, and it's a much better position actually. When I teach and play, I do it like this. So you might want to experiment with different positions, but you need to be able to get up here with no problems at all. So we're going to the 10th fret with that first finger, and it's just a quick shift. And even that takes a bit of practice to not overshoot the mark, or to go to the wrong fret. We're going to the 10th fret, and we've got a hammer on, 2 hammer-ons. So from 10 to 12 on both the A and the D string. And that's a really cool technique. That's called the shake. Mark Adams from Slave used to play this a lot, this little technique. So we're aiming for the 14th fret, the A, but I'm starting on the G and really just trilling between those 2 notes really quickly. So I don't know, it's probably 3 rotations of that. It's that sort of thing. So I've got my thumb at the back of the neck, finger pressed into the fretboard, and it's a series of really quick slides back and forwards. You can do anything actually. You can go beyond, or it's just an effect really, and that's... I'm keeping my thumb there in this case, but you can experiment with moving the hand. You can use different fingers. In this context, definitely makes sense to use the 3rd finger. So we're back again. Okay, that's the whole thing. Let me show you how you might add some fills in. Since this is in a key of A minor, we can just use that, which is A minor pentatonic. You can also add some blues scale in there, or Dorian, okay? But let's just keep it pretty simple and just use A minor pentatonic. So a good place to practice adding those fills in is at the end of the line, okay? The end of the 2nd bar. And the number 1 rule when you play any fill is to return onto beat 1 on time. I often do too much and I find myself in the wrong position, my brain's not working, and I miss beat 1. That's a cardinal sin, okay? So okay, so I kept things simple. This is in the last bar. And there it is, that's that scale. It's the 1 octave A minor pentatonic. So many combinations of notes and techniques and phrases that you can come up with. Notes are pretty simple. A, C, D, E, G. Wherever you are, it's just those notes. Okay, techniques, we've got plucking. Okay, alternate plucking, quite a bit of raking. That's where you pluck across high-pitched to low-pitched strings with either the index or the middle or some combination. That's raking. fast stuff going on there. Those are ghost notes. Do you hear I got a harmonic there? So with your ghost notes, make sure that you're really choking those strings, either with a combination of more than one fingers or, you know, some way to just mute everything. Okay, hammer-ons. Short note lengths. See that one at the end? Very short. And that's to do with just fretting and then coming off really quickly. Not too quickly that you don't get a note. I mean, that would be a ghost note, okay? So it's all about control. Technique really is all about that. That's a pull-off, where you fret a note like the 5th fret of the D string. You play the 7th fret with your 3rd finger and flick the string. That's a pull-off. And combinations of those techniques and note lengths with, in this case, a very simple selection of notes placed into phrases, it just sounds really good. Phrases is really just notes within time, so you've really got to be very aware of rhythms. Yeah. This is the speed I'm demoing, and 16th notes, okay? So, you know, funk bass or any style of bass playing, you need to be really in the pocket. You need to know your rhythms. So I'm tapping my foot. You know, just you can practice it yourself by just getting some notes. You know, A minor pentatonic works well, and just coming up with some very simple riffs. You know, something like that. I've got the rhythm down, that's kind of allied to the technique, and, you know, all comes together that way. If you're interested, by the way, in this sort of style of playing, I've got a book with 100 bass lines a bit like this, and also a course that takes 40 bass lines from that book and teaches it a little bit like this. I'll put links below to that. But I've got loads of other funk bass lines as well on this channel. If you do like this kind of thing, please do subscribe, like, share the video, and I'm going to put a link right here to another funk bass line. Thanks so much for watching. See you next lesson.